Pain has a way of creeping in unnoticed, slipping beneath the surface like a whisper in the dark. It starts as a dull ache, a mere discomfort easily ignored, a murmur in the background of an otherwise ordinary day. Life doesn't pause for something so small, so I convinced myself it was nothing, just a passing sensation that would fade with rest, water, and maybe an aspirin. But by the afternoon, as I sat at my desk attempting to focus, the first sharp pang tore through my stomach. It was no longer subtle. It was a warning. Leaning back, I drew in a slow, shaky breath, pressing a palm against my side. Maybe I had eaten something bad. Maybe if I just waited it out, it would go away. Or maybe I was lying to myself. I reached for my phone, hesitating before pulling up Lena's number. The thought of calling my own wife made me uneasy, an absurd reaction, but that was what our marriage had become. Still, I needed to hear her voice. Needed to know she still cared. The phone rang twice. Then straight to voicemail. But it wasn't that she hadn't answered. She had declined the call. A hollow laugh escaped my lips as I tossed my phone onto the desk. She's probably at the station, I told myself, preparing for her segment. Reaching into a drawer, I grabbed some painkillers, swallowing them dry. They would help. They had to help. But they didn't. By midnight, the pain had escalated into something monstrous, an agony that twisted and burned, sinking deeper into my flesh with every breath. Sweat clung to my skin, soaking through the sheets as I tossed and turned, each movement sending fresh waves of torment through my body. I couldn't lie there any longer. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, gasping for air. My stomach felt as if it were on fire. Something was wrong. I needed help. Fumbling for my phone, I scrolled through my contacts, my vision swimming. And then I heard it, laughter. Soft, lilting, familiar. Lena's laughter. She was awake, talking to someone. My fingers tightened around my phone as I forced myself to my feet, every step a battle. I moved toward her door, which was slightly ajar, and pushed it open. She sat on the edge of the bed, one leg crossed over the other, her phone pressed to her ear, a small smile playing on her lips. She hadn't even noticed me standing there. And then I heard the words that would shatter everything. I'll be there soon. Something inside me twisted, pain, not just physical but something worse, something cold and final. She wasn't just leaving. She was comfortable enough to do it without a second thought. My breath caught. I tried to laugh at the absurdity of it all, but the sound never came. She froze. Our eyes met. I opened my mouth to speak, to demand an explanation, but nothing came out. Because in that moment, I realized the truth didn't matter. I took a step back, my body trembling, though I couldn't tell if it was from the pain or the anger. I should have confronted her. Should have forced her to say the words aloud. But I didn't. Because if I didn't get to a hospital soon, I was going to die. Pain strips a man bare. It steals his strength, his pride, his ability to pretend. And standing there, hunched over, watching Lena adjust her makeup while laughing with another man, I finally saw reality for what it was. She didn't love me. She didn't even see me. A fresh, searing pain ripped through my gut and I gasped. I had to go. No. I reached out, my voice hoarse and broken. Lena, something's wrong. She furrowed her brows, irritated, as if I had interrupted something important. I gritted my teeth, pressing a trembling hand to my side. I think it's my appendix. My voice was barely more than a whisper. It hurts. She groaned, rubbing her temples. Nathan, I'm leaving. The words cut deeper than the pain itself. I need you to take me to the hospital, I forced out. She laughed, a short, dry sound void of warmth. I'm busy. She didn't even look at me. Just turned back to the mirror, reapplying her lipstick. Then she said it. The words that crushed whatever was left of my hope. I'm celebrating my boyfriend's birthday. She grabbed her purse, walked past me, her heels clicking against the floor as she left. I stood there, frozen. Seconds passed. Minutes. I couldn't tell. The pain was unbearable now, radiating from my stomach to my back. I needed help. But I had no one to call. My hands trembled as I unlocked my phone, my vision so blurred I could barely read the names. Not Lena. Not my family. No one. And then a horrifying thought struck me. If I died tonight, no one would even notice. No. I refused to let that happen. With the last of my strength, I opened Facebook. My fingers trembled as I typed, my breath ragged. My wife just left to celebrate her boyfriend's birthday. I think my appendix is about to burst. If anything happens to me now, you all know why. I hit post. The phone slipped from my fingers. The last thing I saw before the darkness swallowed me was the screen flashing. Post submitted successfully. Then silence. I floated between awareness and oblivion, the world distant and fading. until a sound pulled me back. A buzz. My phone. I gasped, eyes flying open, pain worse than before, my body torn apart from the inside out. I was on the sidewalk. How had I gotten here? Beside me, my phone vibrated wildly. Hundreds of notifications. I struggled to lift it, unlocking the screen with shaking fingers. My post had gone viral. The first comment, "Where are you? Call 911. Another, "Does anyone know this guy? He might be in danger." And then I saw it. Lena Carter was trending. Not in a good way. People were furious, disgusted. My story had struck a nerve. A message popped up. "Marissa, a nurse I barely knew. Nathan, answer your phone. Where are you?" The phone rang again. Barely conscious, I forced my lips to move, my voice no stronger than a whisper. "Hello?" A sharp inhale on the other end of the line. Then urgency. "Nathan, where are you?" I turned my head, my vision swimming, forcing my eyes to focus on the neon sign above me. Brentwood Lounge. Marissa's voice was firm. "Stay there. I'm calling an ambulance." I tried to respond, to acknowledge her words, but the dizziness hit me like a freight train. My fingers went slack. The phone slipped from my grasp. Darkness swallowed me whole. The next thing I remember was chaos. Sirens. The blinding pulse of red and blue lights flashing in the night. Hands lifting me, strapping me down. "He's going into shock. Get him to the ER now." I felt weightless. Detached. A body no longer my own, floating between pain and oblivion. But through the haze, one thing stood out. My phone screen glowing beside me, the screen lit with a name I no longer cared about. Missed calls, Lena. For the first time that night, I felt nothing. Not even anger. Somewhere out there she was panicking, but not because she cared. No, she had seen the consequences of her actions unfold in real time. The world knew. They all knew. And now she was scrambling to fix what could never be repaired. She had left me to die. Someone else had saved me. Marissa had found me when no one else had. And yet, even as she stood at the hospital door ready to leave, I realized she hadn't rested. She had stayed awake, making sure I wasn't alone. "Marissa," I rasped, my throat raw, "thank you." She looked back at me, surprised, then softened. "Just get some rest, Nathan." For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I truly believed I could. Waking up in a hospital bed should have felt like a victory, an impossible survival against the odds. But instead it felt like mourning. A funeral for everything I used to believe in. The room was quiet, save for the steady rhythm of the heart monitor beside me. Beep, beep, beep. A dull hum filled the silence, the four-pump whispering through the night. My body was weak, exhausted, but I was still here. I turned my head slightly, the stiffness of the hospital sheets pressing against my skin. And then I saw it. My phone. Resting on the bedside table, its screen flashing, vibrating violently, almost slipping off the edge. 53 missed calls. Lena. A tightness settled in my chest, but it had nothing to do with my injuries. This wasn't the lingering pain of nearly dying from a ruptured appendix. This was something colder. Heavier. Lena. The woman who had looked me in the eye as I begged for help and walked away. The woman who had been too busy celebrating her lover's birthday to care if her husband lived or died. And now she was calling. Over and over. I let it ring. Again. And again. Until it finally stopped. A new notification. Voicemail. I should have ignored it. But I didn't. I hit play. Lena's voice filled the room, breathless. Desperate. But not in the way I had hoped. She wasn't panicking because she had lost me. She was panicking because she had been exposed. "I've been calling you all night," she said, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean it like that, you know how I get under pressure." "I didn't realize." I scoffed. She wasn't sorry. Not for what she had done. She was sorry she got caught. The internet had turned against her. My post had gone viral, spreading like wildfire. The comments were ruthless. "How do you look someone in the eye while they beg for help and just walk away? This is pure evil." She wouldn't have cared if he died. I gripped the phone tighter, scrolling through the headlines. Dallas anchorwoman faces backlash after husband's viral post. Social media outrage. How one woman's cold decision ended her career. Stranger saves man's life while his wife walks away. And then her public statement. A carefully crafted, PR-approved apology. "I regret the misunderstanding that hurt my husband Nathan's feelings. I was intoxicated and distracted that night. I never meant to upset him. I love my husband and hope we can work through this together." A misunderstanding. Even now, she refused to take responsibility. I clenched my jaw. She wasn't apologizing. She was trying to salvage what little she had left. Too late, Lena. The world was unforgiving. The comments were relentless. She left him to die. Don't let her get away with this. I hope it was worth it, Lena. Your career is over. My fingers tightened around the phone, my stomach twisting. The entire world knew what she had done. And yet, as I read through the outrage, the condemnation, the fury, I felt nothing. Because none of these people had been there that night. None of them had felt the agony that tore through me as I collapsed on the pavement. None of them had heard the sound of her heels clicking against the floor as she walked away. A knock on the door pulled me from my thoughts. Marissa stepped inside, holding a takeaway coffee cup. She handed it to me with a small smile. You look like you need this. I exhaled, managing a weak grin. What gave it away? She shrugged. You have that look. Like someone realizing karma is real. A short laugh escaped me. I rubbed my face, glancing at my phone. The screen flashed again. 7 more missed calls. Marissa watched me carefully. How do you feel about that? I hesitated. How was I supposed to feel? Lena had abandoned me, mocked me, laughed in my face. And now the world had turned against her. I should have felt something, closure, justice, satisfaction. But instead I just felt tired. I don't know, I admitted. I thought I'd feel vindicated. But I just don't care anymore. Marissa studied me for a long moment. Then she smiled. That's good, she said. It means you're finally letting go. I let out a dry chuckle. Letting go. Was I? She raised an eyebrow. Do you really need to do anything? I frowned. I haven't even decided what I'm going to do about her yet. Marissa simply nodded toward my phone. You don't need to do anything. Her voice was calm. Certain. She took care of it herself. I stared at her, processing her words. And suddenly I understood. I had already won. Lena was drowning in the consequences of her own actions. And I was finally free. I picked up my phone. One last notification. One final decision. I blocked her number. Marissa smirked. Took you long enough? I laughed, shaking my head. Yeah. And as I placed my phone down, lifting the coffee to my lips, warmth spread through me. For the first time in years I felt at peace.